Hello and welcome to Newland.com. I'm practicing my German. Not sure how that's going. That's for Sebastian. Sebastian did a lovely thing earlier today. He actually posted a picture of my nan, but what she possibly would look like when she was younger. Did a like on ChatGPT. I didn't know you could do it on ChatGPT. I know there are AI things you can do. I think Ancestry.com does it as well. Oh dear. But that was nice. I have seen some pictures of my nan when she was younger, but only from my nan. I mean, you might say, well, it's hardly likely to see it when you go shopping, are you? No, I don't mean that. You know, random strangers aren't walking up to me. Hey, you want to see a picture of your nan when she was 20? No, that's not happening. I'm not saying that would happen, but every now and then I'd visit me nan. But every now and then she'd get the boxes of photographs and the photograph albums down. Would have a little good look, and yeah, she had very curly hair. Always had curly hair. She had a picture of her and all her brothers and sisters. It took up half the wall. There was like 12 of them. Honestly. I remember saying one of her sisters was like, no, I'm just saying, it's just like phenomenal, as in, if you, I don't know, this sounds weird, but if you, this is going to sound weird. If someone said, oh, this person here was a supermodel in the 1930s or the 1950s or 40s, you wouldn't question it. You might say, who? I've not heard of her. What was her name? Did she do any bikini shoots? That's not what I would say, because she's my great aunt. Great. Okay, let's move on. But she was, wow. I remember saying that to my nan, though, and she said, well, bikini shoots is a bit inappropriate. I said, sorry, nan. And she said, besides, what am I, corned beef? I said, what do you mean? She said, what am I, corned beef? You thought, oh, my sister's so attractive, but what am I? I said, well, you're not corned beef. Why did you come up with corned beef? She said, I'm hungry. And I thought, yeah, I am as well. About time we went and got some sandwiches then, wasn't it? So she'd go and get the sandwiches, and I'd wait. Sometimes I'd have to sort of say to shout, hurry up, will you? Can you hurry up? Hurry up, woman. Get the food ready. But she was a lot quicker before she broke her hip. None of that's true. She did break her hip. None of that. I wouldn't, like, if I said that to my nan, hurry up, well, she'd probably laugh, to be honest. But I would never be rude. This has started weird. Shall we start again? Welcome to jasonnewland.com. My name's Jason Newland. Please only listen when you can safely close your eyes. This is Let Me Bore You to Sleep. It is a very therapeutic recording for you to fall asleep to. And I will be as boring as I can. Yes. The secret is, I've never once been boring. Not to me. Not to me. Just to everyone else. Vinny's got a bone. One of his little bones. Got a new pack came through you yesterday. I tell you what, there's been some troubles. I've had some troubles. No, nothing serious, but very disheartening. Oh man. Right. It's Thursday the 12th of June 2000 and... I nearly said 2012. Wow. It's weird. I was a counsellor. I was a full-time counsellor. I was helping people full-time in 2012. That was a interesting period. You know, I'd like to talk more about what happened during that time. It's just, I don't want to, talk about other people. Obviously people have come as clients, so that's not really on. But I learned a lot, and there was some very interesting experiences. And I think the one thing becomes very evident if you ever, as a counsellor, as a training to become a counsellor and starting to see humans, is there's a lot of stuff going on out there. And people can be quite complicated. Maybe always, I don't know, but it's just like next time you have someone who's grumpy, or doesn't open the door for you, or doesn't say thank you when you open the door for them, or perhaps doesn't even acknowledge you, or perhaps is a little bit rude, not horrible, but just a little bit like short, or a little bit, I've always been a little bit short. Maybe there's a reason for that. I started to learn that a little bit. I learned it earlier in life, but I kind of learned it a bit more, realising people, this has got heavy quick, hasn't it? People are walking around with stuff. And that's why, I mean, even though it's quite heavy, I found it's useful. Useful in a sense of, I'm not always able to get myself in that zone. Sometimes I don't, but if I can, I try and put myself into the zone. If someone's been rude to me, that at the very least they're just having a bad day. We're all allowed to have bad days. It's fine. Or if what they've done is really upset me, or I've reacted, then I try and look at it at the most extreme situation in order to sort of negate that feeling. So, for example, I had someone in the petrol station during lockdown, actually it was. He was pretty much semi-shouting. I love that word, semi. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm 5 years old, I don't know, but he was, I think, two people behind me. So, because everyone had to stand 6 foot away. How am I supposed to know what 6 foot is? I'm 5'8". I don't know what 6 foot is. I can't gauge that. I can gauge it if you're standing up or lying down, but I can't, it's hard. Anyway, this bloke started like moaning, and I was at the counter giving my money. The cashier was new, so I don't know if it was going a little bit slow, but then she was new, so she was just learning the job, and every job can be hard when you first start. And I didn't react great, if I'm honest. Verbally, I mean, but internally didn't respond. And when I got back, I started thinking, well, I don't know anything about this person. Maybe, I mean, bearing in mind the situation at the time, maybe they just lost someone. Maybe they've just been to hospital and seen someone they care about, and yeah, that seemed to semi-neutralise it. Not completely. I just lost Andre, so I was not in a great space either. But there was a lot of people not in a great space during that period. But I found it was something that helped. I know some people just do it in a more smaller, less dramatic way. Kind of, they're just having a bad day, and that's fine. Which is cool. If you can do that, that's really good. I'm not always able to do that. What am I talking about, though? I know what I'm talking about. Why? What's this got to do with goldfish? I don't know. So, I got no idea. Anyway, I got annoyed, but it wasn't about a person. Here's what happened. I made yesterday morning, right, probably 10, 11. I made a Whisper Wednesday recording. There was a little bit of chitter-chatter outside, but not much. It's fairly quiet, and yeah, I did the recording. It was about an hour and 15 minutes, and then I never, generally, when I make a recording, I don't upload it straight away. Sometimes I do, but generally, after I've made a recording, that's when I go and do something different. I mean, technically, uploading it, editing it, all that stuff, that is different from making a recording. But I kind of like to do something that's got nothing to do with this whole thing. So maybe take the little rabbit out for a run, It's not a euphemism. I'm talking about Vinny. What would that be? What would that be a euphemism for? I'm just taking a rabbit out for a run. I'll be back in 5 minutes. What you been doing in the bedroom all that time? What was all that noise? What's happened to that sock? I was just taking the rabbit out for a run. I don't know. So that's the answer. I said, oh, what happened? How come the washing machine keeps eating all the socks? Have you noticed? It's often male socks that go missing. Yep, there's a reason, because a washing machine does not like one of them socks. I don't know where I'm going with this. This has gone weird. Right, so on to the subject. So I was feeling okay. I've done the recording. I might have gone back to bed for a little nap. Then I came back out and started, I sent the recording to the iPad, and then I opened up to start editing, and the iPad was not working. The iPad was not working. First of all, the file app was missing. I don't know what the heck happened there. So I had no way to access the files. I found a way in the end, but it was like a real weird place. And secondly, the touch screen was not working properly. So I touch on one part and a different part would highlight. And I use the touch screen when I edit my recordings. Now I realised that, in the past I used to edit without touching the screen, but I've been doing this way for years. I'd find it very difficult to go back to not touching the screen, also to not using the software that I use. I'm used to using it and it works. Because there's nothing fancy. I don't need to do anything fancy. There's no, I'm not adding sound effects or anything like that. It's just editing it, maybe increasing the volume a bit to make it sound louder, I guess. And then adding background music or adding the stock, 5-hour, 10-hour things to the recording. And I used to be his comedian on the circuit, and every time he did a gig, he's like, "Good evening." Seriously. I don't. It's not. It's just he was a brilliant compere, but it was just. It's weird. This is one of those things, right? Seeing someone for the first time can be amazing, but because I used to see the same person week in, I saw him for like over 10 years, but for a 4-year period it was intense. I see him nearly every week, and you get to know every single joke in their act. And it's weird how someone that's so good, it just gets boring. It's like, oh, not them again. Yet some of them were kind of on TV, and but it's just be the same stuff. They're doing the same act, and that's why they were so good, because they were doing it all the time, and they were practicing, and they had an act. That's what it is. It's weird though, because sometimes the comedians that look like they're ad-libbing, some of them are, but a lot of them aren't. They're just pre-programmed ad-libs almost. And that's weird as well, because I saw someone, it's one of the comedians from the Mighty Boosh, Noel Fielding, and I saw his stand-up act. I've never watched the Mighty Boosh, and I've never, I never really knew what Noel Fielding was like. And I saw some of his early stand-ups from the 90s. So funny. Absolutely funny. It's like, he's just basically, it was very surreal, and he's just it's like he's making it up as he's going along. Then I see him do another gig on a different show. Same material. It wasn't made up, so his ad-libs weren't made up. It's like, oh. Then I see him again, he's doing this, it's like, maybe new material, but he's adding other stuff, but it's still kind of certain things that I thought was almost like he was just, I don't know, just talking and coming up with stuff. I'm sure he did. Like, I guess you can't rely on it if you're doing a TV show, can you? You can't. If it's a live gig, you can play around more, but I guess if you've only got 5 minutes on a comedy show, you got to give it your best stuff, and there's no room for error, I suppose. I wouldn't know, personally. Although I did once do a TV talent show, but it was for live TV in 1995, near the end of the year, and the only audience was the other acts and the production crew, which was a few camera people and people in that little space that there was there. I really enjoyed it. I did get some laughs. I didn't win anything. I didn't win anything. I never won anything. I got through to the Hackney Empire shows. So I don't know if they still do it, but there used to be a Hackney New Act of the Year, which was held at the Hackney Empire, and they did the. First of all, you had to go to the pub, which was next door, and they did gigs there, and it was like a contest, a talent contest, and those who got through that part were then allowed, that went on to the Hackney Empire show. And I don't know if it was, I think, just banged the microphone. I think that was kind of like semi-finals, I think. I don't think it was just, it wasn't just one show. I think there might be 4 shows. I got through to the semi-finals, which was pretty cool. I think, funny enough, I didn't win it. And the reason you know that I didn't win it, is because I didn't. People that win that show often go on to be well known, go on to be writers, have their own radio show, TV show, so yeah. So many people I could name off the top of my head. People that you might not know if you're not from this country, but that are celebrities, been in TV shows, sitcoms, panel shows and stuff like that. So many. I'm just thinking of Ardal O'Hanlon. He won that, and he was in Father Ted. Probably the next year. He was a weird one, not weird as weird. He was great. He was great. He was great. But he came over from Ireland, and he went from, he was successful instantly. Like instantly. I'm not even sure if he ever had a bad gig. He came here and he won every single talent contest on the circuit, because there's a few around. Like the BBC newcomer, best, whatever, different things like that. He won everything, and he became a headliner almost instantly. Probably within a year of being, maybe less time of being on, maybe a year, but it's very, very, very quick. Never met him, never on the same show as him, because he actually went from, he joined, he got onto the circuit, and he was on television really quickly. And after that, he was famous. So he wasn't doing the small gigs. Wow. Oh, Vinny was just barking then. Someone slammed the door downstairs. Oh, I got my neighbour a coffee mug with his football team on it. I don't know why. I just don't know why. I thought about getting it a few months ago, and I went to Amazon 2 days ago because I needed to order some food for him and order some. Oh yeah, the bones. And that mug came up. Are you sure you don't want to buy this mug, Juicy? You mug. And I thought, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So I just got it for him. So I'll give it to him later. Oh yeah, the iPad. So, the iPad was not working properly, and I did not know what to do. I spent all afternoon, all evening with breaks, trying to figure out how to fix it, and then starting to focus on what can I do instead, what alternatives can I use to edit my audios that does not involve my iPad. Now, there's loads to choose from. That's not really the issue. The issue for me is what one is going to be compatible for me. What's going to suit my way of doing it. And I started trying out a few different apps and not really loving them. And then some of the stuff was expensive as well, so I didn't really fancy doing that one. But there's one, I think is it Hindenburg? And it's Hindenburg. Well, there's one that was sort of, I did. It was Hindenburg. And I signed up for the free trial, and the download didn't work. The thing just wouldn't work. It's like, what's the point in this? And I got another one, and it was like £200 one-off payment. Like, no, it's free once you pay the £200. It's like, everything's free then, isn't it? You know, a Mercedes is free once you pay the 90 grand. It's free now. There you go. Your mortgage, your house is free once you pay the mortgage off. So I didn't know what to do. And I was going on ChatGPT asking for help. Now, probably the problem I had, I thought, I didn't realise it was the screen. I thought it was the app. So I was asking for help to fix the app. And I was doing that. I was uploading it. I was deleting it. I was re-uploading it. I was trying to change the settings of the iPad. I just thought the app had just, for some reason, it had broken. And maybe the iPad just didn't want to work with it anymore. Or I'm not sure. It just got confusing. And then I went to bed. So I would have made another recording yesterday. In fact, I wanted to make another recording. But there was no point. If I couldn't upload, I couldn't edit that one, then what's the point in getting another, making another one? And I wanted to upload it on Wednesday. I mean, I know sometimes I do upload the day after. Maybe make a recording in the evening and then I upload it the next morning. I'll do that sometimes, but yeah, bearing in mind that I recorded it in the morning, then I would normally have it uploaded by the early afternoon, or edited and uploaded. So what I ended up doing is I did edit. I'm not sure. I don't think I did. I think I might have uploaded it yesterday, just one recording, the first one without music, and I edited that in CapCut, which is a video editing software. But it was harder to do because the screen, I was doing it on a laptop, and it wasn't just, I couldn't see. It's weird, but I can see the screen. I can see the screen on the laptop, but with the iPad, the whole screen is just the audio, spiky stuff. So I can see where all the spikes are, and I can see where to edit and where to listen. And because I know it so well, having looked at it and used it for years, I've used it, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of times. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. So I kind of know my way around it quite easily. So it took a while to get it done using CapCut. Got it done. And then if it was I'm losing track about whether it was last night or this morning. But yesterday I'd had enough. I thought, ugh. So I went to bed about 9 o'clock. I was annoyed with it, so I thought, no. Plus, I've been watching Mobland, a TV show on Paramount Plus. I just finished watching it today. It was 10 episodes. It's not so much a binge binge watched it, but I did watch it in 3 days. I guess, is that binging? It's only 3 episodes a day. But yeah, it's it was interesting. I think Pierce Brosnan got a lot of hassle for having an Irish accent in that show, and I saw someone saying he was being disrespectful by putting on that accent. Pierce Brosnan's Irish. Do people not know that? Pierce Brosnan's not American. I know he was famous for being in an American TV show and then being in James Bond, but he wasn't. He was never English. He was Irish. Unless, yeah, he was Irish, or unless he had an Irish accent. He was born with an Irish accent. He wasn't born with an Irish accent, but he definitely was born in Ireland. Or was it? Or was it Scotland? Nah. Oh no, what am I talking about? We all know who the Scottish James Bond is, don't we? Roger Moore. God. Some people, I should know my Bond, shouldn't I? Let's face it. I mean, I grew up watching every single James Bond movie all day and night. Breakfast, dinner, tea. Honestly, just James Bond this, James Bond that. None of this is true. I did watch a lot of it. I think the James Bond movies of the last, I don't know, probably 20, 30 years, I don't think they've really had the societal impact that the original ones did, or the ones in even the 80s. It's almost like no one, I can't think of anyone other than James Bond himself that really became a huge star from being in those movies, in any of the James Bond movies of recent years. And if I was to tell you, for those that are not old enough to remember, and those that are old enough to remember will actually agree with me, Jaws, not the shark, Jaws, Richard Keel, for some reason I'm remembering names today, Richard Keel was an absolute superstar, so famous. There was action figures made of him and James Bond and him and his gold teeth, and he was like an anti-hero. And he'd be fighting Roger Moore. Roger Moore was about 95 then, and they'd be fighting on a ski lift. And although we didn't want to see the pensioner James Bond get hurt, at the same time we loved Jaws as well, because he had a lovely smile, a big smile, very big smile, very gold and shiny. Yeah. There was one scene where I think he ends up in the ocean. I think it might be the second movie, because he's in 2 movies, at least 2 movies as Jaws. I think other than Blofeld, is it Blofeld, the one with the one eye and the cat? Or was it? But I think that, there was a couple of baddies that are in more than one movie. The James Bond franchise. But there was a scene where Jaws was in the ocean and he gets attacked by a shark. And everyone felt sorry for the shark. Like, you're doing it to the wrong person. This shark was like with his mouth open and Jaws turned around, to Richard Keel, the baddie, James Bond baddie, turned around and smiled. And the shark, you could see the shark's face like, Uh-oh. Only gonna messed up now. I don't know what that accent was. He gone messed up. Ooh, 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 ooh. You alright, Finn? Yeah, that's good. Just ignore me then. My little fox. If you saw him at night in a field running around, you'd think he was a fox. Seriously. I mean, you'd think he's probably a baby fox, because foxes have got quite long legs, haven't they? You'd think he was a baby, a well-fed baby fox. But he's got this. I'm not saying he's got exactly the same colouring, because fox is probably quite a bit redder, but he's definitely got that kind of foxy look. And the ears, one of his ears are pricked up, so he's listening for something, aren't you, Vinny? Yeah. You're gonna behave. Yeah, you are. Your little tails, his tails waggling. Oh, you're so cute. You're such a cutie. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Bless him. Okay, so I didn't know what to do, so I ended up I made an image for or did I? I don't know if I did. I don't know if I did it last night or not. But I ended up doing the one without music and uploading that. I think I did that last night. I'm not 100% sure. It might have been this morning. And then I got up this morning and I looked, because I'd been resetting this and stuff on the iPad. I realised I'd lost all the background music stuff that I had saved, that I used to edit recordings, to put them all together. And I thought, oh no, what have I done? So I managed to find them. They just weren't in the same place that they had been before. I managed to find them, uploaded them to Spreaker, or edited them to be smaller, uploaded them to Spreaker, and then went onto my laptop, downloaded them from Spreaker, all the different, because there's about 6 different background things, and then put them onto the put them onto the laptop, onto the the screen background, what do they call it, whatever it's called, into a file, desktop, that's it. And I started I also cleaned the screen thoroughly, because I've got these spectacle and lens wipes, so they're specifically for that thing, for cleaning glass, and I use them for my phone, I use it for my glasses, and mainly my glasses, although my glasses are scratched now. They're just so old, they got to the point where they're running out. They're running out. The prescription has nearly run out for these glasses, I think. And I'll tell you, it's bad. My neighbour this morning, I was just bringing Vinny back home from our WALK, and we were talking about whether or not if he could park his car there, or when he had to wait to park the car there, because there's a parking zone, where you can't park a car between a certain time. What are you doing, Vinny? Oh, he's found a fly to try and catch. It's either moving very, very fast, or it's invisible, because I can't see it. Dogs can hear things that we can't hear. Can they see things that we can't see? That's it, because they can smell things we can't smell, hear things we can't hear. Can they see things we can't see? That's an interesting question, isn't it? wonder what the answer is. Oh, and my neighbour said, "Oh, I don't know if it's safe to park here. When is it okay to park? Because it's like a school zone kind of block." And I said, "There's a sign over there, and you're not allowed to park between 8:30 and I think 9." And he said, "No, it says 9:30." I said, "No, it says 9." It says 9:30. So he's like 70. No, he's about 81. And his eyesight, he wears glasses. He didn't have his glasses on. So without his glasses, he can see that it was a 3, not a 0. And I couldn't. I suppose if I kind of moved my head, I could see how it could be a 3. Especially once he told me it was. You know, once someone tells you what it is, it's hard to not. You almost see a 3, whether it is or not, really. And I just thought, that's not fair. Why has he got to have better eyes than me? And I had a tantrum. I did. I stormed up the steps, came in, slammed the door, and I didn't do any of that stuff. I don't know why I'm saying that. I didn't. So I'm looking at the iPad and I'm starting to think, what I'll do, so I transferred, as I said, all this stuff over. So I had that on the desktop on my computer, and I was going to start putting stuff together on there using CapCut as the editor, because you can edit video and audio on there. And I thought, I went on to ChatGPT to ask a question, and I can't remember what the question was. But I'd asked him, I went back onto last night's questions to try and help me to fix the editing software that I had problems with. Because that's what I thought it was. Because when I wasn't in that editing software, the screen seemed to be working okay. And it then dawned on me, maybe, just maybe, it's not the screen. No, maybe, that's it. Maybe it's not it might not be the app. Maybe it's the screen, not the app. And if it's a screen, that means there's something going on with the iPad. So it took me a whole day to come up with this. To think, I do come up with solutions eventually, but it's not always quick. So I asked ChatGPT, instead of saying, the editing software is not working, have you got a fix for that? Which I'd done yesterday. This morning, I wrote down, the iPad's not working. The screen's not working the touch screen's not working on the iPad. Please help me. Went through a few different things that I'd already done previously. So I'd already cleaned the screen. I'd already I'd already turned it on and off, or off and on. So I'd done that. I'd done that stuff, the basic stuff. And then it said, reset all settings. Put it back to factory settings almost, or maybe not factory settings, but reset the whole thing. So it's basically the knob that you press, or the button that you press when you want to transfer all your stuff onto your new iPad. But it gives you two options. You can transfer or reset. So I resetted it. So the whole thing turned off. I had to press yes, 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 yes a few times. Not quite sure what I was agreeing to. And it took a while for it to power down and do what it needed to do. Then I didn't realise it would actually come back on again. Because it had come back onto its factory settings almost. The screen was going off after 2 minutes. I had to put that back to being on all the time. I don't want to keep going off. And it worked fine. The screen, everything worked fine. So then I go to use the editor again, to open it up, and I had to open the file because the file app's still not there. And I'm thinking, what's gone on here? I have to go in ChatGPT and ask how to get the file back, the file app. So I just went into the editing app, import file, and I was able to find the file from... No, I had to download it first from Spreaker and then get it. Opened that up, and then I saved it. But then the problem is I had none of the background music or sounds on my iPad anymore, which was, or they weren't there. They were there, but they just weren't like there. You know what I mean? On the actual app, because the app stores recordings. Unless you delete them, it stores it on there. So what I had to do is go and start looking for files on the iPad. Ones without music, background music, no music, 10 hours, or whatever. Background music, whisper. And that took a while to get all that stuff up. Then what I was having problems with was, because of last night, I ended up uploading two versions, two different editors, the same editor but twice. So they kept swapping over to each other and cancelling each other out. So I had to figure a way to get rid of one of them, which I did. And eventually I was able to, through a lot of hassle, keep like importing stuff. It was not easy, but I managed to do all 6 versions, including the one I'd already done. So to get all versions done, it took quite a while to get them done. And I got them uploaded. It took till this afternoon to do it. It was gone. Yeah, I think it was gone midday, 1 o'clock, something like that, 2 o'clock, and I took him OUT to the park. Oh yeah, and then I thought, oh, I've done this, good, brilliant. They'll stay on there now. So tomorrow, the next recording I do will just be back to how I was doing it before. Everything's kind of stored and it's easy to use. The good thing, I've now got backup on my laptop, so that's cool. So, you know, the background stuff, the 10-hour versions, whatever, that's all stored, so that's good. But now I'm thinking, but I can't find the files on my iPad. Just generally, it's silly. Because, I should be able to just have... Because it always used to be at the bottom of the screen, files, click on it, and it shows me, I've got a choice of iPad, iCloud, or if I've got a backup drive or a SD card attached, so I can choose which one I want. Didn't have that facility. Facility. Not just facility, but facility. When I said that, it reminded me of 1994 for some reason. Just round the corner from the swimming pool. Isn't that weird? Connections. Maybe I said that word facility. And it meant something at the time, I don't know. So, this was in Stratford. Well, Forest Gate actually, that's where the swimming pool was. Forest Gate? It was more East Ham College area, was it? Was it? I think so. East Ham College. So Forest Gate, up to the end, turn left, joins on to the Romford Road, which also leads, if you turn right, goes all the way up to Stratford. Also, if you get towards Stratford, turn left, leads you to Mile End. Or if you turn right rather than Stratford, leads you up to Leyton and Leytonstone. And then you can turn left again, which leads you to East 17. Trying to think, left... Forest Gate, that leads to, I think that's where the swimming pool is, unless it was right. I think it's left. And then that's on the left hand side, but on the right hand side, it was East Ham College. So I went there a couple of times. Yes. Also had my counselling there as well. I did a course. I kind of miss those days. It's a little bit weird, isn't it? In 1998, I think it was 98, I went to the job centre and they had courses that I could go to, to learn new skills. And I decided to go on a computer course. And it was very basic, but it was very thorough at the same time. And it was learning words, what do you call it? Typing. It was kind of a typing course, really, but on a computer. So I suppose learning to use Word, like Word would be kind of like the word processing app, wouldn't it? Whatever, on laptop, or on computers rather, PCs, back in the 90s. So I went along to this thing for I don't know. I didn't stick at it, but I did go along. I did another one actually when I first moved in here. Went to a computer course. I wonder if there's anything like that I could do. Something a little bit different. I don't know. It's just the going out, isn't it? But I was fine back then though. Like, I wasn't fine, but I mean I could go out and do stuff. Oh well. So, the thing is, when I moved here, I was literally living in town before I moved here. The previous two addresses, I was a very short walk from the town centre. So I was used to going to the supermarket every day pretty much to buy my daily food. and meeting up with friends at coffee places, or going for a walk in the park to feed the squirrels. So I had a degree of activity which I don't have anymore, which I think was useful, because I know I'd go out. I don't know what time I'd go out, but maybe I'd go out, 10, 11, 12 or whatever, and I'd come back home about 3. So I'd go and feed the squirrels. Maybe I'd get something to eat, go feed the squirrels, maybe go and chat to some friends in the evolution shop, which was the Buddhist shop, and potter around, go home, make myself some tea cakes. I think in them days I was having a tea cake and a toasted tea cake, maybe a cup of tea, but I think it was possibly a can of Coke. And I'd watch something on TV that, like, it'd be an old 70s sitcom would be on at that time, like Terry and June, or George and Mildred, so and I just love it. It's just like a little bit of pleasure time, It'd only be like for half an hour, maybe an hour, and that would kind of be the day done, kind of, especially in the winter, because it'd be dark by then. I do sort of sometimes wish that I don't know, held out and found somewhere a bit closer to town, just so I could. But I don't know. It doesn't matter, does it? What ifs and bits and bots and whatever. This is where I moved, and this is where I am. And if I hadn't moved here, to the really, I wouldn't have had Andre, and I wouldn't have had this little one here, Vinny. So those are two things that wouldn't have happened in my life. And yeah, I'm not. Yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? So, but then, yeah. I remember when I first moved in here, I think I'd been here for about 4 weeks. And I remember I was sitting over there at the table, which was in the corner at the time, near the window. The phone rang. The other end of the phone said, "Hello, Mr. Newland." I said, "Hello." I said, "Just check that if you're available to come and have a viewing of the flat." I said, "Huh?" I said, "I'm already here. I live here. I've been here for about 3 weeks, 4 weeks." And she said, "No, the one," and it was a flat that was in the same town as where my nan lived. No, where my dad lived. My nan was gone by that point. Sorry, it was, but that's where my nan used to live. But it was a town where my dad lives. And I kind of put that down as one of my areas on the housing list, because I thought maybe it would be good to be closer to the family, And I'd had a phone call from them probably 8 weeks earlier, 7 weeks earlier, telling me that I was at the top of the list for a flat in that town. But then I didn't hear anything from them at all. And then I got another phone call saying, we've got you a viewing at this place. So I just figured that the other one had gone. You know, I didn't realise. Just figured I was dealing with the same department, same people, even the same person. I don't know. And the other place was gone, so I just thought, okay, fair enough. And I knew that I wasn't in a position to turn down a property. Really, I was very lucky to be at the top of the list. And they had I don't know if they had a rule at the time. I think it was you were allowed to turn down 2 properties, but not the third one. I think that was a rule back then. I might be wrong. I've no idea what the rule is now. And so I jumped. I mean, I just couldn't believe that I was literally being offered a flat. You know, it's yours, they said to me. You just got to come and look at it. If you want it, it's yours. You got first refusal. Now, there were other people, and there was like 2 other people that were waiting to see this flat that had appointments after me. Now, I was never in that position. I never went to look at a property that I wasn't first in line for. And this is the only property I ever looked at. And I'm kind of... It's not that I'm glad I only got to look at one property. But that just would have been... I wouldn't have enjoyed that process of... it's almost like going for a job interview, isn't it? It's like... Right, I'm looking at this property, but I might not have it, and there's 2 more people ahead of me. Like, no. I just didn't fancy that. Although they did say other people had turned it down. That's why it was still available. And I kind of found out why when I moved in. Why it was... I think people did a little bit of research, maybe more than I did. I'd never even heard of the place before. So I was just super excited. It's the last time I was excited, I think. I was excited at just the whole life transforming possibilities of, for the first time, having my own home. And I know I don't own it. Obviously, I don't own a place, but it is my home. And the only way I can lose this home is by doing something ridiculously, like really ridiculous. Yeah, like not pay the rent for a long period of time, or not pay the council tax, or, you know, I don't know. I don't know what, but it's pretty much, the lady said to me, it's a home for life if you want it to be. And I've actually been here longer than any other property ever in my life. Never lived anywhere for 10 years before. Ever. Which, you know, if an 8-year-old said that to you, you wouldn't be surprised, would you? But 54, first place I've lived 10 years at. So yeah, it's weird. And I think Vinny, I don't know if he likes living here now. I don't know. I've had him for 2 years and 2.5 years now. Does he like it? How would I know? I mean, he's cuddled up to my leg. I'm basically on the recliner, and so I've got my legs up, and he's lying to the left of me, and I'm just stroking him, and he seems very relaxed. I think he's relatively happy. It's just, I think it's just a bit boring for him. There's very little stimulation There's no other dogs for him to play with. There's no kids for him to play with that he would have if he was in a family. He'd love that. If he was in a big family with adults and kids and maybe another dog, a big garden, he'd love all that stuff. He'd just be, I think he'd just be happy all the time. I just don't know. I don't know. I can't figure him out because there's not one ounce of him, not one part of his brain wants to please me. He doesn't want to. He's not interested at all in doing what I want him to do. Not one particle. It's all about he wants to do what he wants to do, and that's it. And I kind of quite like that in a way. He just reminds me of Andre, because Andre was the same. I was going to say Andre was more affectionate. Not at the beginning, he wasn't, blimey, but then, I mean, Vinny's lying here right next to me, cuddled up to me, so that's kind of affection, isn't it? Possibly. I mean, if he didn't like me, he wouldn't be doing that. I just don't know if he likes me. I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's just strange to think that he's lived here for 2.5 years. It just seems strange. I mean, 2.5 years I fell down the stairs and fractured my spine. My back rather. 2.5 years ago. That's ages ago. I remember the day I opened the door, the front door. You might think, well, you open the door every day, don't you? I said, yeah, but let me finish the story. I remember the day that I opened the front door, my friend from downstairs was standing there. His Logie was standing there as well. And this tiny little red thing just ran through my legs. And my friend was laughing, really laughing loudly. I'm like, what the hell was that? I actually, for a second, I thought he'd got another ferret. Because it moved so quick and it was really little. I mean, it wasn't much smaller than he is now at the time. He was 10 months old, so I guess he was still kind of a puppy, but he's filled out a bit since then. To give you an example, the railings in the school, there's a school nearby, he used to be able to get through those railings and run around the football pitch. Or, well, I didn't actually, he did that in the past with the neighbour that had him before. He actually went into the school and ran around inside the school. The kids loved it, the teachers weren't so happy. And when I first got him, I think I had him off the lead because I thought I could trust him. I was wrong. And I was chucking the ball, and the ball went over the fence of the school. And I'm thinking, oh, that's it. I mean, technically, I think I'm not sure if it might have been a Saturday. They might have been open, I don't know. But either way, I can't climb over that fence. It's just, it's not that I'm not from an illegal perspective. Because if it was a Saturday, I wouldn't do it if the school was open. If it was a Saturday, I could just zip over and get back and zip over back again. But my body doesn't go along with that stuff like that. My body's banned me from jumping over fences ever since, I think it was about 2009, the last time I tried that. I got stuck. I did actually get stuck on a fence a couple of times in the past, and there was one time it was weird. 1994, I was with Andre. We went for a walk, and I wasn't living there at the time, but it's before I moved into that house where my other friend and his girlfriend was there, and we were all watching Meet the Feebles and just having a really good time. It was really nice. Probably one of my most enjoyable evenings of the 90s with friends, because I liked both of those people, both of the blokes. So Andre, his girlfriend, and his girlfriend's boyfriend, who was also best friends with Andre, and I ended up being really, really close friends with him as well. So I ended up living with him twice. Once. Twice. No, twice. So it was such a good environment, and it was really funny. The neighbours kept complaining. Now, there's someone else there as well. Yeah, there's someone else there who we worked with. And we were watching Meet the Feebles, and it was just... I'd never seen it before. And in that circumstances, it was even funnier than perhaps it would have been. The neighbours kept like knocking on the door, complaining. And no, I'm not a big fan of being noisy, really. And I'll pretty much do anything to avoid disturbing the neighbours. Unless I'm on the toilet, then nothing I can do about it. And the echo, it's hard to hide the echo, isn't it? I had a girlfriend once. We was in a hotel room, and she went in and she put the tap on because she didn't want me to hear what she was doing. And she left, and I went in there. I said, you turn that tap on to cover up the... she said, yeah. Yes, it covers up the sound. I said, yeah. Didn't cover up the smell, though. That seemed to have ruined the romance, though, for that night. Yeah, I should have kept my mouth shut. So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, they kept complaining, but the more they complained, the funnier it got. Honestly, I'm not like that now, and I wasn't like that then either. It just, I suppose I got caught up in the moment, because I wasn't used to being around other young people of my own age doing what perhaps I should have been doing, which was enjoying myself. Not disturbing anyone, but just... I don't know how to explain it, but I'd never done that before. I'd never done it before 1994. So I left school in 86. So 1994 was the first time I actually sat in a house with friends laughing. I'd never done that up to that point. And just having fun, just being a young person. Yeah, so it was just quite a special occasion. I didn't tell them that. What was weird is Andre and another friend, different person, because I never had anything to do with anyone I worked with outside of work. That was my rule. Don't want nothing to do with you. It's like, sometimes I go to the pub, I would. Or, something like that. But or I'd maybe meet them in the pub, but I would never generally get involved in their life. And then one day I'm walking home from work, this is probably 94, and 94. And I'm only in for probably about a minute talking to my landlady. I've lived there since 91. And the doorbell went. And I said, oh, I'll get that, because she was disabled, so I'd always get the door for her if she could see me. You know, she couldn't see me and I'd hide. But, you know, because I don't like to help people. No, I did. So I let her, I answered the door. I walked towards the door and all I hear is giggling. So I look through the peephole. There's Andre, not my ferret, the original Andre, and the other fella. They'd followed me from home, from home. I nearly said from school. They followed me from work, followed me all the way. I'm not sure it was 94. It was one year anyway, and they'd followed me because they wanted to find out where I lived. And I just felt infringed upon. I felt almost not soiled, but it just felt, I just didn't like it. The idea of someone knowing where I live, I wasn't best pleased with that. But yeah, so, but I guess that was good because it ended up with me being a little bit more open and spending a bit more, having more of a little bit more of a social life. Because up to that point, my social life involved going to comedy clubs or wandering around. Well, actually, it isn't a social life if you're on your own, is it? So I used to like to go up to the West End on my own. One of my favourite things, and often it would be after going to a comedy club, I'd go to Leicester Square. Is it Leicester Square? Yeah, Leicester Square. Not Trafalgar Square, Leicester Square. And, well, you've got Covent Garden in Leicester Square. It all seems to be within touch of distance, I think. I might have that wrong, but I used to go to Leicester Square and it was amazing. I loved it. Now, everything was open. You'd be there at 2 in the morning and it looked like it could be 2 in the afternoon. You know, so light. All lights on, everyone around talking, eating, you know, chatting. There'd be people like having discussions about stuff, kind of like Speaker's Corner, but in Trafalgar Square, no, but in Leicester Square. So I think Speaker's Corner is in Hyde Park. But there'd be people discussing religion and discussing philosophy, and I just found it interesting. And for whatever reason, it felt like the safest place ever. Maybe it's because it was so well lit. Maybe it's because there were so many people there. I think it gets to a point when there's so many people, it almost just feels safe. So it's a weird... Maybe it's just the way I was at the time, but it's... When there's so many... It's a little bit like... I used to live in Upton Park, which is... There used to be West Ham football ground in that same road that I lived in. So I'd walk up one part of the hill towards Upton Park train station, and if I caught it wrong, if I caught the wrong time, I would see thousands and thousands, maybe 10,000 or more people walking towards me, going to get onto the trains to go back to where they came from, you know, whatever part of London or whatever they travelled from. And it was weird. If there'd been a couple of hundred people, it probably would have been almost more threatening. If there'd been like 40 or 50 people all just standing together walking. Because there was thousands and thousands, the only thing I was concerned about was getting squashed. Like on the train, I mean. To try and get on the train before they got to the train station, so I could just... I'd go anywhere just to get away. Because it was never good. It was just... I mean, generally, it was just people singing. But there was so many of them. So there was no way of really getting... It's quite hard to get a seat and not be squashed, you know. Oh, those were the days. The irony of it is they didn't seem good at the time. I look back now and I think, oh, maybe they weren't too bad. I don't know. The one good thing about living in Upton Park was everything was there. Supermarkets. There was a pub opposite the road, opposite where we lived. There was takeaways galore. Anything you wanted. Chinese takeaway, Indian takeaway, pizzas, kebabs, chip shops. And literally turn right up the road. There was a Sainsbury's, there was an Iceland. Everything. There was a chemist. Great little road. And there was a market just up the road where like a big old market area which sold all this stuff that I didn't buy. It was just, it was a very interesting place to live. I didn't live there for a long time. But yeah, I did live there for a little while. You know what? It might have been nearly a year, actually. No, would it be? Maybe nearly a year. Yeah. Wow. Because I think I moved out. Maybe. Yeah, maybe a year. That's wow. I didn't realise that. I'm pretty sure I moved in about the summer, or the end of the summer, or the summer maybe, to 1996, and I moved out again in the summer 1997. Yeah. I don't know how I got onto that after talking about the iPad, but the iPad sorted. Oh yeah, the flat. There isn't really a subject for this recording. I've got no idea. I'll probably just say something about the iPad. I wonder if my toes need cutting. Why is it my toenails don't grow as quickly as my fingernails? So I had to cut my fingernails today, and honestly, I think I only cut them a week ago or a few days ago. I might be wrong. And my toenails, I think that was about January. But that doesn't sound right because they're not long at all. They're still short. So maybe I've cut them. Oh, don't tell me I sleep toenail cut. That'd be weird, wouldn't it? Cut my toenails in my sleep. No. Maybe I have cut them. They're too short. They're not long at all. They're literally, some would argue, well, maybe not many people, but perfect length. They're not talons. They're not like massive. They're literally very, very, very tidy toenails. I must have cut them. I just don't remember doing it. But to be fair, why would I want to remember that? It's not the most useful memory to keep, is it really? But on that note, I'm gonna go. So thank you for listening. Remember to be kind to yourself, because you do deserve to be happy. And be gentle with yourself, because you do deserve to feel safe. Lots of love. Bye.